for the release of hostages, and Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Mohamad Hassan is set to meet Myanmar's junta chief and senior officials during his working visit. That and more coming up on Awan International. Israel and Hamas have agreed to the first phase of a US-brokered ceasefire deal. The plan includes the release of all hostages held in Gaza, the withdrawal of Israeli forces from parts of the territory, and the release of some Palestinian prisoners. US President Donald Trump says the hostages could be freed as soon as Monday, though key issues remain unresolved. There are no clear details on how Hamas will be disarmed, a central point of the plan. Hamas has previously said it will not lay down its weapons until a Palestinian state is established. There are also lack of details on who will govern Gaza after the war. Under Trump's 20-point plan, Hamas would have no future role in Gaza. He said it would be temporarily governed by a technocratic, political Palestinian committee before transitioning to the Palestinian Authority. Israel's government is set to meet today, and if it signs off on the agreement, the ceasefire will take effect immediately. The announcement has sparked celebrations in both Gaza and Israel, but many remain skeptical about whether this will lead to a lasting peace. Meanwhile, in Paris, top diplomats from Arab and European nations are meeting to coordinate post-war plans for Gaza. Turkey and the European Union will also be represented. Talks will focus on security, governance, and reconstruction. French President Emmanuel Macron says this should mark the end of the war and the beginning of a political solution based on a two-state framework. Malaysia's Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Mohamad Hassan will visit Myanmar on Thursday for talks with the country's military junta, urging progress on ASEAN's stalled peace plan and discussing the nation's upcoming election. The one-day visit to Naypyidaw comes as Malaysia chairs the ASEAN summit later this month.
Mohamad Hassan will meet junta leader Min Aung Hlaing along with Myanmar's Prime Minister and Foreign Minister to press for implementation of the ASEAN 5-point peace plan. The plan, agreed to in 2021 after the coup that toppled Myanmar's civilian government, has made little progress. The junta has been barred from ASEAN meetings since 2022 for failing to honour its commitments. Myanmar is expected to hold the first round of its general election on December 28th, a vote critics say is designed to keep the military in power through proxy parties. Most opposition groups have been barred or refused to participate. Mohamad Hassan has said ASEAN does not view the election as a priority, stressing the focus should remain on peace and national reconciliation. He also warned that recent ceasefire violations, including a deadly attack in Sagaing that killed at least 20 people, are undermining peace efforts. The trip marks one of the highest-level engagements between an ASEAN member and Myanmar's military leaders this year, as the region seeks a path to end the country's civil conflict.
Myanmar is scheduled to hold the first phase of its elections on December 28th, the first poll since the military coup in 2021 and widely described as a sham. According to Debbie Stotthard from the Alternative ASEAN Networks on Burma, this comes at a time when the junta is losing ground to resistant groups. She shares more on how the elections pose a threat to a sustainable solution in Myanmar.
The first phase of voting is scheduled for 28th of December. It's not an accident that it's 28th of December when most of the world is enjoying year-end holidays or some sort of holiday. The preparations for the elections have actually seen a spike in violence. So this sham election that the military is conducting has outlawed parties that won over 90% of seats in the 2015 and 2020 election. And there are various laws that have been amended to prevent these parties from re-registering.
Preparations for the election have already sparked a surge in violence as the junta moves to suppress opposition.
As part of preparation for the sham election, the junta brought in a new law to protect the elections in July. And essentially, anyone can be jailed for between 3 to 7 years for criticizing the election. They call it disrupting the election through their speech. And already in September, 40 people were charged under this law, and several have already been sentenced to 7 years jail. So we hope that Malaysia will take the leadership to prevent ASEAN states from engaging in this sham election or giving it any legitimacy, because it's not actually contributed or to any reduction in violence.
While the junta consolidates power, neighbouring countries and ASEAN have struggled to respond effectively. Ahead of Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Mohamad Hassan's visit to Naypyidaw, Debbie highlights the limits of ASEAN's approach, especially its strict adherence to the principle of non-interference.
Ironically, despite having a focus on reducing the conflict in Myanmar, ASEAN is actually feeding the conflict. Countries like Malaysia and Thailand are actually deporting Myanmar nationals into the hands of the military junta, and these nationals are being forcibly conscripted.
With some 70,000 people already forcibly conscripted, ASEAN needs a unified strategy to stop further abuses and confront the reality of its 5-point consensus.
The reality about consensus is that we cannot actually consider consensus when ASEAN is so disunited over Myanmar. But what we need to do is ensuring that the approach is consistent with international humanitarian law. You know, ASEAN was formed in 1967 in response to conflict with a desire to prevent conflict. But then ASEAN has sabotaged itself by hiding behind non-interference, by sitting on their hands and allowing things to get out of hand. So ASEAN keeps saying there must be ASEAN centrality. ASEAN must lead in the solutions. But we are still waiting for ASEAN to show that it has critical leadership to solve the issue. And it is a tragedy not just for Burma, Myanmar, but also for ASEAN, because what's happening in Myanmar is affecting the region in very profound ways. And it's extremely irresponsible for ASEAN leaders to just resort to statements to try and solve the issue. They need to back it up with genuine action. And even Malaysia needs to be consistent. It's diplomatic, its foreign ministry, its prime minister is saying one thing, and then the home ministry is behaving in a way that undermines them. So there has to be also some cohesion and unity within Malaysia to show that it can lead in helping resolve this situation.
Stay tuned for more after the break.
Di dalam setiap berita yang dibawa, konteks amat penting. Kami sentiasa membawakan yang tergempar dan terkini. Pastikan Astro Awani menjadi pilihan anda, tidak kira di mana sahaja anda berada.
Welcome back. China is tightening its grip on rare earth exports, announcing new restrictions on processing technology and banning any unauthorized overseas cooperation. The new rules also confirm plans to limit exports to foreign defense and semiconductor industries.
China produces more than 90% of the world's processed rare earths and magnets. These critical elements are essential for making electric vehicles, aircraft engines, and military radar systems. Under the new measures, restrictions on magnet technology will now apply to more types of magnets. Controls will also extend to components and assemblies that contain these restricted materials. Beijing will require export licenses for equipment used to recycle rare earths, further tightening its control over the supply chain.
The move comes just a day after U.S. lawmakers called for broader bans on exporting chip-making equipment to China.
French President Emmanuel Macron is expected to name a new prime minister within 48 hours as the country faces one of its most serious political crises in decades. The announcement follows the resignation of Sébastien Lecornu on Monday, just hours after unveiling his cabinet, making his administration the shortest lived in modern French history.
Lecornu said the chance of dissolving parliament is fading after 2 days of talks with political parties. At Macron's request, he met with leaders from the centre-left to the centre-right. Most lawmakers oppose fresh elections but agree the national budget must be passed by the end of the year. Lecornu warned, however, that forming a new government remains complicated, with deep divisions in parliament and politicians already eyeing the next presidential race. Pressure on Macron continues to grow across the political spectrum. France's political deadlock began after snap elections in July 2024, leaving no party with a majority and making it hard to pass laws, including the budget. Far-right leader Marine Le Pen refused to join the talks. She vowed to block all government initiatives and renewed her call for snap elections, saying the situation has become untenable.
The United States has approved the export of several $billion worth of NVIDIA chips to the United Arab Emirates. The move is meant to help the UAE expand its data center capacity, a key step in developing advanced AI models.
According to Bloomberg News, the licenses were granted under a bilateral AI agreement signed in May, allowing the UAE to import 500,000 of NVIDIA's most advanced chips each year starting in 2025. The agreement is set to run until at least 2027, with an option to extend to 2030. The move comes as President Donald Trump has focused on strengthening ties with Gulf nations. During his visit to the region in May, he announced investment commitments worth $600 billion from Saudi Arabia, including deals to purchase large quantities of chips from NVIDIA, AMD and Qualcomm.
United States President Donald Trump has sent a letter to Thailand's Prime Minister urging progress on resolving ongoing border tensions with Cambodia. The move comes as Trump seeks to bolster his role in regional peace efforts, part of his broader ambition to be considered for a Nobel Peace Prize. Thai Prime Minister Anutin Chanvirakul said Thailand is ready for talks if Cambodia meets specific conditions. These include withdrawing heavy weapons, clearing landmines, take action against online scammers, and relocating citizens from disputed border areas. A border conflict erupted in July, led to the deadliest clashes between the two nations in decades. More than 40 people were killed, and around 300,000 residents were forced to flee their homes. After 5 days of fighting, both countries agreed to a ceasefire, partly brokered by Trump. However, accusations of truce violations continued from both sides. Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet later nominated Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize, crediting him for helping end the clashes. In response, Anutin stressed the nomination would not affect Thailand's stance, adding that a Nobel Prize would not change the country's actions. That report wraps up Awani International for tonight. Stay with us as we track the rivalries, strategies and power shifts shaping the new global order. For more updates, visit international.astroawani.com and follow us on social media. I'm Amrul Aiman. Thank you for watching and good night.